everybody, and welcome back to my very tired looking container garden. It's been really fantastic throughout this year. We've really enjoyed sitting out here. We've even had some food and some herbs growing, but it's in desperate need of some maintenance, so I'm going to do that today. I think we are going to start with these herb planters first because I do have some new plans for those. The first of my two big herb planters is this one right here behind me. It has a really nice coleus that I bought from a garden center. We have one of my multiple lemon geranium cuttings which has done really well. And underneath here we have some chives and some parsley, which you can see have gotten completely swamped by the two ornamental plants. So let's start by cutting those back. I have smaller clippers would do for this. I just can't find them right now. So I have my big ones, and I also have a bucket. Now we should have a bit of time yet before our first frost, so by cutting this back it's just going to encourage bushier growth. And I've actually done this once before. Here is one that, there was the leading shoot that I cut off right there, and you can see what it ended up looking like. It branched out nicely, but I'm going to trim it again. Big one off there. So unfortunately these chives and parsley, and we have been using them, but they've been a little harder to get to. So that is already a little bit better. I'm actually going to cut both of these inner branches. There's actually some brand new growth coming up right from the base, so that's encouraging. There. So that's already making a big difference. Now this lemon geranium I've actually been using for bouquet fillers. So I also have a floral bucket behind me, and I'm going to cut some of these. I have a lot of them and they will grow back pretty fast. So I'm going to pretty much cut this one right to the ground. There we go. I'm also going to break off the lower leaves. And that will get used in a few short days when I have to make bouquets. These have done so well this year. Now I did a video in the winter where I took cuttings of these geraniums, and these are those cuttings. And when I overwinter this, rather than digging up a whole plant, I usually just take a couple of cuttings and then root those, and they will be my plants for next year. There, those two remaining shoots back there are not getting in the way, so I'm going to leave them be. There we go. Now, I'm not going to deal with these just yet, but I am going to move them out of my way. So I'm going to get all the dead leaves out of here next. Oh, if you've never grown scented geraniums before, the smell is just amazing and very strong. And the next thing I'm going to do is cut back the parsley as well. I'm going to take off all the old foliage. It's grown a little bit long too because of all the shade from the ornamental plants. There. And the chives are pretty overgrown as well. Now chives also will regrow really fast. So I think I've just decided I'm going to cut these back all the way to the bottom. And then we'll see what we're dealing with in terms of space left in this pot. We will see regrowth of a couple of inches at least within only a week. There, so now we can have a look. The parsley is really healthy. Now I don't really think that there's a lot of room to plant anything new in here. I always like to think that we can cram a lot in, but I often regret that. Having said that though, we could try some sweet peas. I did bring out a handful of seed packets with me, and I have some old sweet pea seeds from last year. This is Elegance Mid Blue, Royal White, and then Royal Pink. So we'll tuck the Elegance Mid Blue in this corner. Then I'll put the Royal White sort of in the middle. With the cooler temperatures, the soil is staying nice and moist. It's not drying out as fast as it was in the heat of summer. then we'll put the royal pink over on this side. There, I'm putting a few extra because these seeds are old, and I'm accounting for some of them perhaps not germinating. So that first planter is done, and I'm next going to turn my attention to this big monster behind me. In here we have another lemon geranium, and we also have a really big marigold. And this serves me right because when I bought these seeds, I knew that it was, I think, giant African. Anyway, I knew it was not a border type marigold. But then I was planting them up and I thought, I'll stick a marigold in here. It'll be fine. Well, I've been pruning this one too. So there are not just geranium and marigold in here. There are garlic chives, and there's also cilantro, which I haven't seen in weeks. So I'm going to take this marigold out completely, and we're going to prune back the geranium as well. Okay, I've just double checked that I remembered to park my wheelbarrow next to the deck down on the ground, which is good because my bucket's already full. So, and toss him right into the wheelbarrow. There. Oh, I see some cilantro. Oh, glad I brought the big pruners. I'm not going to take the root out of there yet because I don't want to disturb the soil. There's a lot of cilantro that's growing under there. So there is the stump of what was that giant marigold. You can see there's quite a bit of cilantro in here, which is great. I see one weed. Also some holes, which was likely just a result of me dumping buckets of water in here and not being careful. But that's fine. I'll pull this guy out. There's the garlic chives. Those are not looking too bad. There's a few flowers that have fallen over. I love the garlic chive flowers. They're so delicate looking. There's one that is just starting to open right now. There is a bud, and I love the look of that just as much as the open flowers. Next, I'm going to take some of these geranium stalks out as well. Now I think that's pretty good. I think I'm going to leave the garlic chives. I'll just pull out some of these dead leaves. There, I've got a nice bit of cilantro over on this side, and I think I'm going to trim just this. And now I can see I have all of this space right here. I was going to seed more cilantro, but I seem to have run out of seeds somehow. So I'm going to grow dill instead. Dill doesn't even really need to be covered. And this is a full 1 ounce packet. I got a couple of these this year because I grow so much. So I'm seeding this fairly thick because it's not going to be allowed to grow very big. We're going to be using it. So, and we don't even really need to cover it. I'm just bringing some of the loose soil over to help keep the seed moist, and then we will give that a water. So there are the 2 planters all cleaned up. I did take a few minutes to sweep off my mess off the deck, so that's already looking better. There's still quite a bit of this geranium left, but it's a really nice plant. There's nothing wrong with it at this point. I'm just going to leave it be. And we can see now I've cleared off space that we can see my jasmine plant. Now I don't know exactly what variety this was. It was honestly an impulse buy from the grocery store last year. So, and I have just noticed that it even has some flower buds. Now this did bloom earlier in the spring when it was indoors. I think the blooms only lasted a day. I can't remember. Oh, and I've just noticed this one as well. This one looks a little tired. Maybe it was yesterday's flower. This is going to have to go back in the house. I'm just noticing flowers on almost all of these little branches here. Lovely. This is going to have to go back in the house before winter. That is a weed. Well, let's take care of that right now. Try to get some of the soil off though. There we go. So a quicker job I have to do now that's going to make a big difference is a few plants that I have to rip out entirely. So let's have a look at those next. This cucumber has been fantastic, but it has seen better days. We've gotten lots of fruit off of it. There is one more, it looks like. It hasn't grown much in a couple of days. So I think we're going to cut our losses. Oh, that's fine. It's small, but it should be just fine. So now we can get these vines out of here. Oh, look at that. I guess I missed one. I don't think that one's going to taste very good. So that's empty, and the top layer of soil is still fairly moist, probably just from rough watering. So I'm not going to do anything to that yet anyway. I think I'm going to put in here some green onions, and maybe, oh, I've changed my mind already. I think we're going to do carrots. So this is probably the biggest container that I have here on the back deck that is empty. So let's try to see if we can get some baby carrots before the end of the season. Again, seeding fairly heavily, but not assuming that all of these seeds are going to germinate. If they do, that's a bonus. Now right next to the cucumbers here is the calendula. This soil is likely completely full of that root ball, so I'm not going to attempt to plant anything in there. I'm just going to dump this whole thing. But first I'm going to collect these seeds. I like to collect my calendula seed, and rather than storing them, I just scatter them around before the snow. And they seem to have no trouble popping up in the spring. Now, you'll know your seeds are ready for harvest when they are brown like that. And then it should come apart fairly easily. This was just the old flower. Oh, not quite. Okay, there's a couple. Calendula seed is really unique looking. So there's no mistaking it if you don't label your container. But there you go. Those are the seeds. And those ones are not ready. So the rest of the plant is just getting pitched, but I'm not even going to guess how many are there. It looks like close to a dozen on each seed head. So quite a few seeds. The last thing I have to do, there are 3 small pots behind me that need a little bit of attention. I did do a little deadheading on a small dianthus that I had. I do have 2 other little dahlia plants, just little border dahlias that aren't doing all that well, but I'm going to leave them be for now. I haven't decided if I'm going to save the tubers over winter yet. But these 3 pots behind me, this one has, there we go, this one has a Russian sage, which has been fantastic for pollinators. It's only looking a little sad because it needs some water. So that's all I need to do to that one. It has this, yeah, that's an Indian mint, which is a beautiful, beautiful trailer and smells amazing. That is just fine. This is also the pot that housed my apricot fudge lilies, and you can see the foliage is still there. I'm not going to do a thing to that until it starts to die back. The next pot right here has my trailing sedum, and it also has one of my eucalyptus, which isn't looking that great only because I've been cutting all of the usable stems off of it, and that was the purpose of it to begin with. And the last one is this geranium behind me that definitely needs some deadheading. And then the main event, which is this Musa Enseti Morellii banana, which is going to have to come indoors as soon as the overnight temperatures get even close to frost. But for now, it is loving being out here on this back patio, especially since I repotted it. Its leaves have gotten so much bigger, but the bottom ones you can see are looking pretty rough. So I'm just going to cut off those bottom leaves and leave it to do its thing for hopefully another few weeks at least. So with the banana, I'm just going to trim all of the leaves that are looking a little worse for wear, and that should only take a second, and then I am done. And I'm not cutting them all the way down to the bottom. They will shrivel up naturally on their own, and then I can just rip them off. So they hold a lot of water in these stems. So I'm going to leave most of those where they are and just rip off these rough looking ones at the bottom. almost use a bigger knife for this. And that's it. Almost made it. I think I'm going to turn this guy around a little bit too because I want to see this big beautiful new leaf. And here is one final look at all of our cleaned up pots. It's a little surprising how sparse it looks compared to what it was before, but hopefully that will mean a lot lower maintenance going into fall and then winter. The pots do still have a lot of life in them. The banana is looking great. Hopefully that will fit in our living room when it gets cold, but for now we'll continue to enjoy it out here. Now, if I'm honest, it has been a couple of days since I did this maintenance, 3-4 days I think. Not enough time for those seeds to come up yet, but I've been keeping them all well watered, so it won't be long. And what a change in weather we've had. It's been cold, and though we haven't had any significant rain in probably about 6 weeks now, we're looking at lots of rain over the next 7 to 10 days or so, which I'm very happy about. But I will definitely find time in the next few days to go out and film the September garden tour. I know I skipped August, but I'll have the September garden tour up for you guys within a week, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned, and I will see you all soon. Happy gardening. Bye.